Hi.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Great. The emoji is still loading. So that's a nice joke to know. Thank you so much for joining this Q&A session.
Thank you.
Great talk as well. This was like one of this was like the third or fourth talk we've had so far on micro-frontends. Yeah, good feedback so far.
Oh, that's great. I love to hear this.
So I was checking the chats while your talk was going on, and I see that you were like quite fast with answering some of the questions that people were asking. So I have one that I'm not sure if you already answered, but I'll just ask. He's asking, do you need to define a shared library in your project, in different projects? And
Yeah, you need. So this is by design. Each and every project needs to opt into sharing. Because if a project says, no, I don't want to share, I want to have my own stuff, it just needs to omit this section in the configuration, and then it really gets its own version of its dependencies.
Okay. It would be nice if the person that asked the question is here to hear that, but I'm pretty sure it's helpful for people here as well. So,
yeah, it's an important question, so it's good to have it in the box, have it recorded.
Yeah. Another thing, I saw a couple of people asking for the GitHub repo that you shared. If you can also share the link here, that would be helpful.
Yeah, of course. Just let me drop the link into the chat here. Okay. This is the hyperlink. It's directly on my blog. There is a conference section. And also the source code is below the presentation. First of all, there is the presentation, and below there are several buttons, and one of them leads to the source code.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see. Great. Okay, Tino has a question. Is there an easy way to maintain communication between micro-frontends?
Yeah, so the easiest way, if you ask me, is to share a simple library, some kind of communication library. What I like to do is I like to create a service bus or an event service, a service with a behavior subject. And if a system wants to tell other systems about something, it is just emitting an event over this event bus. And all the other systems that are interested can consume this event and act upon it. Of course, communication is always a trade-off, because when you decide for going with micro-frontends, on the one side, you want to decouple your micro-frontends from each other. You want to have them decoupled because you want to work on them in an individual way. On the other side, you want to have communication, but if you have more communication, you have more coupling. So somehow this is a contradiction in itself. That's why you need to find the sweet spot between those two extremes, namely communicating a lot and having a sound decoupled solution.
The question is, what are or are there any advantages to using micro-frontends?
Yeah, so I would say the big advantage is that teams can work individually. And I think this shows that first and foremost, micro-frontends make sense if you have several front-end teams. And if they need to work on the same system, but if they want to work in a more or less autarkic way, if they want to do their own architectural decisions, if they want to deploy separately, if they not want to synchronize with other teams. When they are done, they want to publish it to provide business. If this is not the case, then I would really question if you really need micro-frontends, because micro-frontends also come with a lot of disadvantages. Of course, you can have version conflicts. It can be the case that one micro-frontend is implemented with Angular 10 and the other one is implemented with Angular 11. Perhaps you need to load more into the browser because you are not sharing your libraries, or you have different libraries. different UI libraries or different frameworks. So there are plenty of disadvantages you need to be aware of. So only use it when you really need it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned versioning because Tino is also asking a question here about it, and is asking how do you handle versioning of micro frontend integrated into a shell?
Mhm. So the thing is that Module Federation provides several strategies for dealing with version conflicts. And you can configure Module Federation so that it knows how to behave if there is a version conflict. In the best case, you agree upon at least a major version for everything. In this case, Module Federation is doing something that's called version negotiation. At least I'm calling it version negotiation, which means it looks at all the versions the micro-frontends are providing and needing, and then it is selecting the highest compatible one according to semantic versioning. So let's assume one micro-frontend needs Angular 11, and the other one needs Angular 11.2. In this case, the highest compatible one is 11.2, and that means that Module Federation will choose this version because it's backwards compatible to 11. But if there is not a highest compatible version, then you have a conflict. Let's say you have Angular 11 here and Angular 10 there. You have two different majors, and by definition, two different majors can come with breaking changes, obviously. And in this case, you are on your own. You can tell Module Federation, please throw a runtime error in this case, because this might come with issues at runtime, or you can tell Module Federation to still try it. Perhaps it works. Perhaps even though there might be a breaking change, there isn't one. But in this case, you are on your own, and that means you will very likely need a good set of integration tests. But in general, you need a good set of integration tests, especially with micro-frontends, because the thing is, micro-frontends turn compile time dependencies into runtime dependencies. Those dependencies just meet on runtime, and so you never know if they will work together seamlessly. So you need a good set of integration tests.
Yeah, quite interesting. You answered like two questions here with that response. I have another one from Andre. He's talking about one of your comments you made, I think, in the talk. You said something like, hence the security needs to be in the back end. So he's asking regarding your comments, is it about XSS?
Yeah, good question. Cross-site scripting. I mean, it's also possible without Module Federation. I can load this single page application into my shell, into my eval shell in this case. If we talk about ADAX, I can load that into my shell. If we talk about ADAX, and then I could do something like cross-site scripting. So it's possible even without Module Federation.
Okay. Do you see it going with CSP?
Yeah, totally. With CSP, at least the shell can restrict which other micro-frontends are allowed to load. Perhaps we could whitelist some origins there within the shell. That's a good idea, yeah.
All right. Great. Tino is wondering about versions of micro-frontend themselves. Is there only the latest version of each micro-frontend?
Oh, it can be. It does not need to be that way. You can have several versions out there, and perhaps the shell decides which version to use. Or I'm discussing with several customers something like a lookup service. In this case, the shell asks, first of all, the lookup service which versions to load. and then the lookup service answers with an URL. And then the shell can grab the micro frontend from this or that URL.
Okay. Nice. Here, Ned is saying he's thinking about it like the new iframe. So
yeah. Perhaps somehow, perhaps somehow. I know iframes are not the most beloved solution, and HTML DAC, obviously. And as mentioned before, I would not use it if I not needed to use it, but there are really some use cases out there. If you think about big insurances or big banks, they have several teams, and all those teams have different knowledge about. One team has knowledge about accounting, and another team has knowledge about buying stocks and other stuff. And somehow there are situations where you need to load everything into one shell because the consumer, I am not interested into those domain boundaries. I just want to buy some stocks and I want to transfer some money. And so, this is really a use case. But if you don't have this use case, then I would really not use it because it comes with some disadvantages and it is complicating things.
All right. Thank you so much, Manfred. Where can people find you on the web if they want to connect with you?
So you can always reach out to me using Twitter. At Twitter, I'm writing it into the chat. I am Manfred Steyer, so it's very creative. And you can also find me on my blog. So here is my blog, my website with my blog. So if you need anything or if you want to discuss anything, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to discuss those topics.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for coming on to his Q&A session. Great. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right.